Alright, time for another video. We should be able to finish up arrays in this video. We left off with learning it quite a bit, getting a little overwhelmed with all kinds of new stuff in the previous video. This video right here, we're going to deal with exercising arrays, something you started learning here. But let me adjust this view here so we can get to it. There we go. Alright, let's do some real life examples according to W3 School website here. And if you're unfamiliar with it, that's what's on the right side. What's on the left side is VS Code. And hopefully we'll finish up with arrays in this video right here and move on to structures. So, real life examples. To demonstrate a practical example of using arrays, let's create a program that calculates the average of different ages. So, I don't think we're going to need vectors for this. I'm going to go ahead and remove the vector library from my code, as well as all this code here, and these comments right here. So now we're starting kind of clean here. Something I would get used to, though, if you're new to writing C++, I would definitely get used to going and clearing out all of your text editor and write all this stuff in there. That way you get used to writing include whichever library you're going to include plus the main right here. I know I did that quite a few times and stuff to get used to what I needed. But still, let's go ahead and get this first example written in here. So the first thing we're going to do is, they've also got comments in here. We're going to go ahead and add these comments as well. So the first comment here, an array storing different ages, int ages, which is going to be an array of 8. Oops. Is, and then the curly brackets, 20 is one age, 22 is another age, 18, and yes, these are scattered. When it comes to an array, the elements in the array do not have to be in any kind of specific order. You can put them in whatever order you want to. 35, 48, 26, 87, and 70. So we got a variety of ages here, which is fine in that statement. And then we're going to do a float type, average. The reason we're doing a float type is because we're getting an average age, so there's going to most likely be a decimal in there. It doesn't necessarily have to be a float, though. It can be a double. As you know, doubles and floats are pretty much both the same. The only difference is a float, I think, can only contain 5 or 6 integers or numbers after the decimal. A double can contain more, but in this case, it's just going to be average. Let's see here. We got also another. So it looks like we're going to have 2 variables in this. One being average, the other one being sum. Sum's going to equal 0. Later on, when I get to this and stuff, we're going to find out that doing this or writing this sort of code is actually not a preferred method. You are actually better off writing the code. Actually, let me do this and just comment that out for a second. Go back and declare this one right here. You're actually better off declaring that first and then coming to the next line and doing float again, sum, and then, so this line right here without the comments and stuff, this is exactly what it's doing. It's just getting rid of the float and basically declaring both of them. One doesn't have a value, the other one will. Is what it's doing. Um, but that's not the common way or the preferred way of doing it, writing that sort of code. But in this example, that's how they're writing it. So we're going to go remove this again. Just wanted to show you that there, and then remove the comments. And when you do that and stuff, if you have that right there, this ends this statement, so this has no idea what it is. That's why we have the comma there to separate the two float variables. Then we're also going to declare another one, integer I, just declaring it, no value to it whatsoever. Then we're going to add another comment here, get the length of the array, and then int length is size of, which we discussed a little bit in our last video. Didn't really get into depth of what that means, but, and then divided by size of ages, and we've seen this code before, based on, so we're taking, length is going to end up being the size of, in bytes, ages, which is the type, divided by the size of one of the elements. In this case, we're going to do the first one. You can replace this with 1, 2, 3, just whichever one you want, as long as it's one specific one. It doesn't matter which one it is. So in this case, it's going to be that one. And then we're going to end that statement there. Drop down a little farther here. There's another comment. Loop through the elements of the array. So for integer age, ages. And I don't remember exactly what the key terms were this. It was it type? Let's go back and look real quick. I'm trying to remember what this was called. I know it's in the for loops. Let me save this real quick. So we are right here. We're going to go back into the for loops and find that right there. It's not the statements. It's not that. Nope. Nope. Nested for each loop. Yes. Okay. So it was called type, variable name, array name. So in this right here, it's a type. Both of these are going to be the same, which is going to be the age, which is right here, and ages, or the age, I guess. These are each set to a type. But we don't have this one declared right here. So not sure where it's getting the, maybe it's, okay, so it's declaring age at this point in time. So type and then declaring it with this right here. We still haven't discussed what this symbol actually is yet, and it may never, I don't know. But for now, we're just, again, just rediscovering it, I should say. I want to make sure I have something right. Yes, I do. Okay, I was making sure I had this line of code correct. So, and then we're going to put a curly brackets in place and then write the code to run for as long as that is true. So it's sum plus, it looks like we're going to actually increment this, plus equals age, if you remember how increment works. So sum is going to be sum, which starts off at 0 right here. So 0 plus age equals sum. So whatever the age is. But in this, so this is getting kind of confusing since we don't fully understand a lot of the concepts of what we're doing here. And that'll come naturally over time as you continue to read through the material and understand it. And like I said, we're going to get to that material of reading it and understanding it better later on. This is morely about this discovering it and seeing how it can be used in code. So the farther we go through this, we may be confused through half of this. The next source I use and stuff in later videos, we are going to better understand this stuff. And like I said, this is my second time going through it, and even going through it a second time, I'm still kind of confused on some of this stuff because it hasn't synced into my memory yet. So it's that line of code, and then go down, and we are going to have one more comment here. No, we got two more comments. So this one right here, it will be calculating the average by dividing the sum by the length. So average is going to equal B. Did we declare average yet? Yeah, we got it declared right here. Okay, couldn't remember if we did or not. Shoot, short-term memory is going out the window. Sum divided by length. And then the last comment, print the average. Standard cout insertion, the average age is. The thing about it is I'm kind of getting, yeah, I'm getting older, so my memory's not working as well as what it used to. My memory didn't work that well when I was younger either, but still, when you're younger and stuff, your memory works a lot better, so remembering this stuff is a little easier. When you get older and stuff, it doesn't work as well. And I've got length misspelled. There we go. Save. So that's our first example right here. We got all of our code written, everything. Like I said, we have an array right here. We have two variables that are declared as floats. One is set to 0. The other one is not set to any value. We have integer I, which is declared but not set. We have integer length, which is declared and set to a value based on these right here. We have a for loop right here with another integer that's being declared with ages, and I may not be saying a lot of this stuff right, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, it's really about seeing it and realizing it's there. It exists. And once we get through this first section and stuff, we'll probably jump to, actually, let's see. Yeah, because we got a lot to discover first before we get into, yeah. So I was just looking through this list right here. Okay, and then we got average, which is set to sum. So we declared it up here, and then we're going to set it to sum divided by length, which sum is set to 0, but sum ends up changing, I believe, right here. So there's our code. Make sure it's saved, and we're going to run it and see what this does here. So the average age in this list right here is 40.75. So list of 8 different ages, and the average of those 8 different ages are 40.75. Here's something. You have a group of 20 kids in a class, whatever age group, level, whatever college, whatever class that may be, and you have a grade for each one, or GPA or whatever for an overall grade for each one. So the school board or whatever and stuff wants to know what the school's average grade is currently. The better the grade, the better the school probably looks. So if you got in one particular class, 20 students, 20 grades. You're taking those 20 grades. You got to use this sort of program right here to determine what the average grade is for that class. You would do something like this right here, and it will say whether that class is doing well or not, which can reflect on the school, which can also reflect on the teacher. So that's maybe something how it would look and stuff. The higher the grade, the better it's going to look on the teacher, better it's going to look on the school, the lower the grade, vice versa, sort of thing. So this is how our average age for this array right here is 40. If it was set to grades for 20 students, then you would have the average of those 20 students right there, that class. So that's kind of another better example of how that would work. Next thing is, oh, and again, if you want to click on the try it yourself and stuff and make sure that we got the same result that they got, you can do that right there. We're going to close that back out and go to the next example. In this example, we create a program that finds the lowest age among different ages. All right, so got another example here. Looks like the first comment stays the same. Looks like the first line of code stays the same. It doesn't look like we're gonna need this anymore because we are getting the lowest age, not an average anymore, so we don't need this anymore. We need that still. Create a variable and assign, so we do have something a little bit different there. We're going to keep the for loop and the output. So we don't need this anymore. Going to keep the for loop, but we're going to adjust it. We also don't need this anymore. Okay, and we'll start with that right there. So we declared this one right here. We do need to add a new one. First with the comment, create a variable and assign the first array element of ages to it. So int lowest age is ages, and then the position of whichever one, in this case 0. And then the for loop right here, comment's almost the same. We add to it though, to find the lowest age. And then let's make some adjustments to the for loop. So we still got this right here, which is all the same for the for loop, but we are going to change this right here out to an if statement. If lowest age is greater than age. If that's true, then we go to the next line of code. If it's not, then we skip it. So lowest age equals age. All right, so if this is true, we go to this right here, and basically the lowest age equals age. So we are looking for an age that is the lowest right here. If the lowest age is greater than the current age, then it's false, and we keep. Yeah, sorry, I said that backwards. So if the lowest age is less than age, then that's not our lowest age. Let's continue here. We have this one right here, but we need to adjust this because it's no longer the average lowest. This point in time when you're doing this stuff, it's not so much about understanding it, but you've already discovered it and you're just kind of practice writing it and seeing the code different ways. We are also going to change down here. This is not going to be average anymore. This is going to be lowest. Lowest age is, and then I believe this is going to be lowest age. Yep. Okay. So it's not so much important about understanding the code right now at this point in time. It's just morely about practicing writing the code, realizing that it's there, seeing how other ways you can use it. Um, Understanding it will come later because we still got a lot more to discover. Again, this is my journey. I'm not teaching this stuff. I'm just kind of showing you what I'm experiencing going through it this time and the previous time. I was much more confused the previous time when I went through this than what I am now, but I'm still kind of confused on it even this time around because I've not used it enough and not seen full definitions of it. Another source that I go to and stuff, it doesn't cover for or if until way later in the chapters because it gets really in depth with uh, integers, the types, the bytes. I mean, so much more details. Go ahead and save it, run a program. The lowest age in this group right here is 18. I mean, we can see that and stuff, but if you have 200, oh my gosh, I just got scared. All right, sorry about that. I hope you get a good laugh out of that. Yes, I got scared. I jumped. I had my headset on. I didn't hear anybody coming in. Somebody walked into the room. I glanced over. My peripheral vision seen somebody over there, and it just made me jump. I got a good laugh out of it myself. Hope you do too. Anyways, so we got our code written right here. But yes, if you have 200 different ages here, or let's say you have, I mean, it could be a mix of things. Ages, it could be um, age of cars, what's your oldest car? It could be what's your youngest student? It could be what's the lowest grade in the class, highest grade in the class, who has the longest name, who has the shortest name, a variety of different things there. How would you write the code for that? Well, I mean, this is kind of an example of how you might write that code for that. But again, um, how you would implement those sort of things and stuff, you, I don't, I could probably get it figured out. Probably. That's the key word to that. Even if I couldn't, I know the resources and stuff. I'm going to keep reading through this. Eventually, I'll get to where, yes, I can simply write the code to figure something like that, explain it word for word what the code is doing, what the code means, all that sort of stuff in the simplest ways. I'm just not there yet. And even in my journey previously, I definitely wasn't there. There was no way I could have done it. But if you're experienced with this, you probably know how to write that sort of code. If you're inexperienced with this, like me and stuff, then you're probably going to struggle with writing code like that for a program like that. So, got the second example written down here. We run the code. Lowest age was 18, but like I said, if you had 500 ages or 500 or something, it might be harder to see. So, but yes. And there's plenty of real world examples and stuff where you get lowest age, highest this, lowest that. Scores are great for that. You can literally put together scores easily and stuff, especially if you got a bunch of people doing something. It could be any kind of sports. Uh, there's a variety of options there for that. So, anyways, moving on. That is the last of the real life examples there. Then we get into the multidimensional arrays. Um, so multidimensional arrays. A multidimensional array is an array of arrays. That's a little bit confusing. To declare a multidimensional array, define the variable type, specify the name of the array, followed by square brackets, which specify how many elements the main array has, followed by another set of square brackets, which indicate how many elements the uh, arrays have. Okay, so in the way that this looks is like this. Standard string letters is going to be our example. Square brackets 2, Notice the square brackets 4. Yep, didn't write the square brackets right. I still didn't write them right. There we go. I'll get them in there eventually. And then obviously end it. So this is basically stating that there are two different arrays of letters. The first one containing 2, the second one containing 4. Um, as with ordinary arrays, you can insert values with an array literal, a comma, separated list inside curly brackets, and a multi-dimensional array. Each element in the array literal is another array literal. So let's write down this code and stuff to show um, exactly what we're talking about here. We got an example here that'll demonstrate this. So standard string, and we're going to be doing letters still. Square brackets, the first one's going to be 2. And I think I did say something wrong there on that one. And then 4. So, in fact, I know I did. What the first one is indicating is not one array and another array. The first one is indicating that there are 2 arrays that contain 4 arrays each. As this example will show, equals, and then we're going to go down to the next line, put curly brackets in, and then we're going to have our first array, another set of curly brackets, letter, no, this is strings, not letters. So this might be kind of difficult to write here, but we'll get it in there. Quotes B, these are not chars, these are strings. C, and D. And then at the end of that, put a comma. That's our first array of 4. And this will be our second array of 4. So we have two different arrays containing 4 each. And I think you can go even farther than that. I think that's what the next part goes into, but we'll get there here in a minute. So first is going to be E, F, G, and H. Okay, and you don't need another comma unless you're doing a third array. In that case and stuff, you would do 3 arrays of 4 each. And then, but we do need to end this right here, so do not forget to end it. This would be like having all this on one line. Let me kind of show you what that would look like real quick. So if we were to put all this onto one line, that is how it would look. Got 2 arrays, this one right here being 1, this one right here being the second one, and you still have to end it. The only difference is I separated them out a little bit. So I simply put that there, enter, so that one's there, that one's there, and that one ends it. That's the only difference. So now you see how I've separated it, where I built it on one line. One line stretches it out kind of far and stuff, so it looks a little bit neater this way. A little bit easier to read. All right, moving on. So that's how 2 arrays work with 1. You got 2 arrays, each one containing 4. This is all got, every bit of this is got the same name, letters. 8 elements total, 2 different arrays. If you want to do 10 different arrays with 20 in each, that's going to be like 200 elements. Again, massive numbers. But moving on. So each set of square brackets in an array declaration adds another dimension. So this time we have 2 right here. Square bracket 1 for the first dimension of 2 different ones. Square bracket 2 indicating 4 per. An array like the one above is said to have 2 dimensions, like it shows right here. An array can have any number of dimensions. The following dimension is the following dimensions an array has. The more complex the code becomes, let me reread that again. Arrays can have any number of dimensions. The more dimensions an array has, the more complex the code becomes. The following array has 3 dimensions. So now we're going to add a third dimension. So in this next example right here, we are going to change this to 2, add another set of square brackets, and add 2 more. So now, instead of having, we're still going to have the same amount. We're still going to have 8. But in this case right here, let's go ahead and just add in that right there. Put another one right here. We don't need both of them. Put a comma right there. A space. So there's 3 right there. We need another 2 more. So in this bracket right here, put a comma there. Start the new one. Delete that. Put a space in there. So there's 4 right there altogether. But the thing is we have 2 arrays. And in this case, we only have 1 with 4. And that's not what we're looking at. That's not what we want to be seeing. So we're going to actually backspace this one, enter. Put this inside of another set of brackets. So I'm trying to see it here. Let's see, let's put this, create that there, enter, tab. Let's see, let's get rid of this space right here. Tab, no, I'm using space, not tab. There we go, tab. And then we don't need this right here, so I'm making some adjustments right here. We also don't need this right here. We are going to enter backspace, close that one off, and then create another one. So that right there, enter, backspace, enter, and close this one off as well. Okay, that should clean itself up there. Oh, the comma, that's what I'm missing. Okay, so literally you have one set of brackets here containing the entire list. So one set of brackets containing this entire list. You have the first set of brackets right here, these 2, and I wish that would go away. Here, it won't go away. All these freaking add-ons and stuff, and they keep changing the code and it makes it very difficult to show this stuff. So we got 1 here, 1 here. That makes 2, there's our 2. We got 2 in this one, there's that 2, and 2 in this one, there's that 2. So we're containing total array of 1 with 2 arrays in it, 2 arrays in each one of those. So 2 arrays in the first one, 2 arrays in the second one. If we wanted to change this to 1 to 1, it would be 2 in the first one, 1 in the second one. If we were to see this on a single line, which would probably be quite confusing. And there you go. The string, one set of curly brackets for the entire string. Two arrays, so the blue ones indicate the two arrays. Inside those two arrays, you have two more arrays. Two arrays in this one right here in the first one, two arrays in the second one. The third one indicates two. So yeah, changing this to one wouldn't be right. We'd have to change something else. So yeah. But you might be able to play with this and stuff, and as long as you don't have any errors showing, then it would probably work. Again, we don't have enough examples we're showing, but yes, the last two indicates that there's two elements per array. Again, this full thing is the one array that indicates this one right here, all this. The blue ones are indicated by the first one, 1, 2. These next two indicate the yellow ones right here, 2 in that one, 2 in this one. This one being the first one, this one being the second one for number 2. This one being the first one, the second one as well for that same number 2. The last one is the elements. 2 elements per dimension. Quite confusing, especially if you're new to this, but if you're not new to this, this makes perfect sense probably. Again, I'm going to separate this a little bit better. Because I think it just looks a little bit better like this over that whole thing. You got the indentation and the coloring to help you to see it all. And that's pretty much a 3-dimension, I guess. But multi-dimension is a better word to use for it. Example. Now, accessing the elements of a multi-dimensional array. To access elements of a multi-dimensional array, specify an index number for each of the array dimensions. So, if you want to print out any of this right here, this is kind of what this is showing. This statement accesses the value of an element in the first 0, the third column, and the letter in the array. Third column, first row, 0 position, third column. So again, I don't fully understand this, but we're going to do the exercise and see it because that's the best way to start understanding it. Is just to do the exercises repeatedly. More details are better, but and I've got other sources for that. In this case, we want so this. Let's get this finished up here. Click 2, and then end. Okay. Oh, letters. No, I didn't write that right. Letters. There we go. Control save. So in this array, we want position 0. If I'm row 1, first row, which I'm assuming is this block right here, and then the third column, which should print out C, the third element in this right in this array. Should print out C. I do have this saved, so let's go ahead and print that up. And no, it didn't give us what we were looking for. Let me double check things right here. 2, C is the outcome. Let's see what they have here. C is the outcome. So I am missing something. Hold on a second. I think I know what I'm missing. Nope, I'm not. It's not on that. Okay, so multi-dimensional access and stuff. So they rewrote the code. That's what it was. And I don't have it setting up right because they pretty much rewrote it so that we don't need that. I didn't pay attention to what the example was showing. That is my fault. We're going to backspace this to there. We don't need that or that or that, but we do need a comma and a space there. We also don't need this or this. In fact, I'll clean that up a little bit more here in just a second. We do need a comma right there. We don't need this. I'm rewriting the example that they have here. We don't need that. And then let's clean this up a little bit better. Okay. So in this case, should be the first array. Since we start with 0, should be the third character in the first array. That makes more sense. Save it, run it, and then the output is C. And that's what they have here is the output. In fact, if you try it and stuff, that's what they have right there. That's why it wasn't coming out properly the first time around, because I didn't have this set up the way the example was set up. Now, if we want to do, let's see, they got a note right here. Remember that array indexes start with 0. The position starts with 0. So 0 is the first element, which is this one right here. In this case and stuff, it would either be 0 or 1. And the 1, let's see, is a second element, etc. Yeah. So in this case right here, it would be this one right here. And in this case right here, we'd go to the actual third. So 0, since it's in the first one, 0, 1, 2. That's why it didn't make sense the last time. That's why I was getting everything wrong with what I was saying. Because they had changed the example and I wasn't paying attention to what the example was showing. Now the next one here. So change elements in a multidimensional array. So if you want to change an element in a multidimensional array. Also, how would this right here kind of be a useful bit of code? Well, I mentioned the whole classrooms and the grades for each student or whatnot. Well, let's say you have a multidimensional massive group of numbers. So first off, you have each student has several different grades for all the homework and exercises and stuff they've done for the year. That's one array. The second array would be the number of students in that one classroom. That would be a second array. So you have all the grades for the one student, and now you have all the students. So now you have all the grades for every student in the class with two different arrays, and that's a massive number right there. Now, how many classrooms are in the school? Well, let's say there's 40 classrooms in the school. So now you got three different dimensions, each grade for each student in each class. And one school. So that's a lot of different things there. So now you can actually do an average using a multidimensional array. And yeah, that would be kind of confusing in your mind and stuff. You'd have to really work through that to try to figure that one out. It's confusing in my mind as it is. But let's say you type something in there wrong and you need to change it. So we're going to add in another bit of code here that we're going to change one of the letters of one of the students. And this student so happens to be X, or an X array, and X student. and we're going to change his letter grade to whatever. In this case, it's Z, which I know that's not a letter grade, but still. And then, so in the first array here, this first spot changed from A to Z. So now when we print up that spot, we should see Z instead of A. So prior to this, if we comment this out, save it again, run it, it's A. Take the comment out, save it, run it, it's Z. So now another part of this video right here, loop through a multidimensional array. To loop through a multidimensional array, you need one loop for each of the array dimensions. Wow, so that would be a lot of code right there. We're going to get ready to do the example. Unfortunately, this one's only going to be for a two-dimensional array. The first array having two different elements, and the second part of the array having four different elements. And then if you can imagine going farther than that with a lot more elements and how much looping that would take. So we're going to go ahead and keep this right here. We are going to get rid of all this because we don't need it anymore. We are going to add a for loop. Integer I for our index, starting at position 0. As long as I is less than 2, and then increment I. And put our brackets in place, and our next is going to be another for loop. Because we need to access the second one. So this one right here is just accessing the first array. The fact that we have two different arrays right here. So this one's accessing each array. So this one's going to run through two different ones. That's why there's a 2 right there. 2 elements for the first part of this array. The second one, we need to access all 4 of them. We can't use the same integer though, so we got to go to J. You don't have to do J, you can do A, B, whatever and stuff as long as it doesn't match the first one. J is greater or is less than 4. Increment J. And then curly brackets, and what do we want our code to run? Well, let's output letters in, letters I and J. I'll get this eventually. So that's our output. So it's going to actually continue running through. First, it's going to go through this one right here and continue running through this and stuff until we no longer have any more elements in the array. If you had 5, you switch this to 5. If you had 10, you switch this to 10. That way it'll keep looping through and stuff and keep showing you everything that's in that array. We have only 2 arrays here, so it's only going to do it 2 times. If you had 5, 10, whatever. And this part right here, I kind of understand a little bit better. I can actually write code that would continue going through a bunch of different arrays. We're going to print this up, and you got A through G, or A through H. If we, let's say we added, well, our video is already getting kind of long, so I'm not going to do that. But yes, that's the first example that they have right here, and they're showing every single letter in this entire array that has multiple arrays in it. Okay, the next example shows how to loop through a 3-dimensional array. So now we're going to make our three-dimensional array. In this case right here, we're going to go ahead and put brackets right there. Delete that one. We take and put a bracket right here. Enter. Delete. Put another bracket right there. Delete. Yes, you're gonna have to make a lot of edits here. We got that one right there. We do need the comma, just not yet. We need it on the outside there. So that's we're gonna put that there. We'll clean this up here in just a minute. That there. In fact, let's go ahead and clean it up this way here, and then we'll separate it. So we got that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Curly brackets, get rid of that one. Curly bracket, curly bracket, get rid of that one. Curly bracket, and then we also forgot one here. Okay, so we have them all. I think so. Okay, so now we can separate them all. If there's something I'm missing, I'll find out. Here's the first one, second one, third one, enter. And if you find a different way to do this, makes it easier on you, then go right ahead and do it that way. That's perfectly fine. I kind of could have done it without having to do all that, but it just was a lot easier to write it one line and separate it this way. That way the indentation is proper. And once the indentation is done, I see I have two blue curly brackets, which indicates another set of arrays and a comma separating those two. And then I got yellow brackets right here with two different each. And I got commas separating those each. And then I got also my commas still separating each of the elements in each of the arrays. Now, in this case, since we have another array in this, we have to make this adjustment right here still. Two arrays of blues, two arrays in each one of those blues, the yellows, and then two elements in each one of those arrays. So the first set of arrays, which is going to be 2, the second set is going to change this from right here to 2 because we only got 2 now instead of 4. And then we got to make another for loop. So for int, and what we're using this time, they're going to use k. K is going to set to 0. K is less than 2. Increment k. And then enter, and then set up another set of brackets, enter, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have the output, instead of being right here, we're going to move that to right there. We're going to downsize that, and then we need to make the adjustment here to add the K. And I believe that is about it. So save that, run that, and in this case, why is that right there? Ah, it's not L. I put an L in there instead of a K by mistake. There we go. Okay. So in this case, we're going to, I believe last time we showed off each letter, but we got to start with I as being 0, so this one right here first. Get out of the way. This one right here being first for I. this one right here being first for J, and then this one right here being first for K. So the blues will indicate I, the yellows will indicate J, and the letters inside each one of these will be indicated by K. As long as I didn't say that wrong. So saved, run, and we should get the same output. A all the way through H, because it's going through each one of them. So if you want to add each student's grade in there, that's going to be a lot of grades probably for the entire year. Increase the amount of arrays you have here for the amount of students you have in your class. You're going to have to make the adjustment if you have 10 different grades for that one student, then you have to change this to, no, you wouldn't change this. You would change this one right here to 10. This is the most inner one. So 10 different grades. Let's see. C, yeah, we can make all kinds here, so why not? But we need to put it in a string form. F or T, why not? So it's giving us a problem right here. We haven't finished this out yet, but I'm adjusting this right here. String F, comma, string W, the adjustment, I'll show you what the adjustment should be for this. Let's go with P and Q. The thing about this is, I believe you have to actually have it so that each one of them has the same amount in it. So if you're going to have one with 4 elements in it, then each one of them need 4 elements in it, I believe. And even if you wanted to do one over again, C, you can do that as well. So we got these lines right here, and it's because this one right here for the inner loop needs to be 4. And that gets rid of that. Now, if we want to do the same thing again, we would also need to change this right here for the K to 4. Save it. We can run it again, and we're going to get a lot more. Now, if you don't want it to be to where you got to scroll up and down, just simply get rid of this new line mess right here. In fact, we'll just put a space in between each one of them. Save it. Now it should run on one line. So you got A, B, C, T, A, B, C, T, D, F, E, F, E, W, right there. E, F, Q, P, Q, right there. Same thing with that one, all on one line. And I imagine you can make an adjustment stuff to where if you had, you might be able to space it out to where you have the first students right there, the second students right there, so forth, so on. But you kind of got the idea right there. So, and I believe that was our final example right there. Nope, it's not. Why multidimensional arrays? Multidimensional arrays are great to represent grids. This example shows a practical use for them. In the following example, we use a multidimensional array to represent a small game of Battleship. So if you want to build yourself a game of Battleship, you can check this code out right here. This is actually quite a bit of code on how to play Battleship. Kind of by yourself, I guess, but you would actually know all the answers to it because you wrote the code, but still. I'm not going to write all this example in there. I'm already running into my 1 hour time frame, but it looks like we have put we put 1 to indicate where the ship is, 0 for no ships, and you're just building kind of a two-dimensional grid. So yeah, I might be able to get this written in 5 minutes. Let's see here. Let's go and get rid of all this code right here. I'm not going to put the comments in here. I'll just put the code in here so you can see it better, because I know you probably can't see it very well on the website from my screen. B bull ships 4 by 4 is enter curly brackets, enter curly brackets 0 1 1 1 0 and comma, enter curly brackets 0 comma 0 comma 0, whoops, space in there would be nice, 0 comma space 0 and comma, enter curly brackets 0 comma space 0 comma space, oops, comma space 1 0 enter comma, oops, comma, enter, and the last one here, curly brackets, yep, still same, 0 comma 1 comma 0. Going down there in that entire statement. Int hits is 0 and int number of turns is 0, and then a while loop while hits is less than 4, curly brackets, int row and column being declared. Output, oops, selecting a coordinate, new line in that one, standard out, choose a row number between 0 and 3. That would be your reference spots. Always remember that the arrays, this one's going to be 0 right here, 1, 2, 3. Same with the 0, 1, 2, 3. That's why we have 0 through 3. That's the input we need. Oops, my fingers are in the wrong spot. That actually, sorry, let me go back one. That with a space, and then in that statement, enter standard input is going to be row, comma, because we've already got declared right here as row. There we go. Oops, wrong direction. There we go. So we got it already declared right here in this loop, and it is inside the loop, not on the outside of the loop. So when somebody enters something, it's going to go right here for this. Next part of this, row, okay, and enter standard out. Yep, nope, that right there. Selecting, where's it at? Where's it at? Coordinates, nope. Okay, so that's not that. In fact, I'm going to put a space in between here. So basically, this is just a sentence at the top of the program. This right here is asking for input for rows. This one right here is asking for input for columns. Choose a column. Number between, and having instructions for the user is very important. If you don't have the instructions, your user may not even know what to do. 3, and then standard input column. And so we got the columns in there now. Inside this, we're still inside the while loop. We need an if statement. If ships square bracket row, another square bracket column, and for that if statement, enter ships row column. Now, if I knew how to write this and stuff, I wouldn't be having to look at the example, but I'm still getting familiar with how to write this and do this sort of thing. Hits increment, and then output hit exclamation mark. Oh, I always forget that. Why do I keep forgetting that? Well, there we go. Hit 4 hits. Left, period. New line, end, down, else, curly brackets, enter, standard, out, miss, new line, and that down, number, returns, plus, done, and then output, victory, new line, again, output, you won, and so many moves. Turns. All right. So now you see all the code written there. If you want to write this code, and before you actually run the code, try to decipher what the code is actually doing per line of code. That would be more beneficial to you than just actually seeing it. Go through here and stuff and see kind of how this code is being deciphered. Obviously, there's like 43 lines of code right here just for this simple little game. But yeah, go through it yourself. And then once you hit enter and stuff, basically you're going to be putting in your own coordinates from 0 to whatever. So if we hit 0, enter, 0, enter, it's going to tell us that we missed, select coordinates, and it's going to keep repeating through this while loop until everything has been hit. And you currently have 4 battleships in there, because each one is indicating a battleship. Each 0, there's nothing there. And if you do the math right, so the first one is going to be 0, 1, then 0, 2, 0, not 0. That's going to be 1, 0, 1, 2, 2, 2, and then 3, 2. So this won't actually end until you either 1, get to victory, or 2, you close out the terminal once you start trying this out. You can mix and match with these however you want to. You can add more to them, whatnot. But yeah, there's your first simple game to run. Stuff that you've already seen before. It may not make perfect sense yet. But if you go through, like I said, read through the code and try to make sense of it and stuff, there's a lot of code here. You can make other games that are like this too. We've already seen Yahtzee. This is a battleship game to where you're actually putting input in and stuff to try to hit something. Maybe you can build this and stuff and pass it on to friends, see if they can determine where it is. If you want to see this on your own console, let's see here. I don't know what this is. I'm going to delete this. I don't think I need this. Move that to recycling bin. If you want to see this on your own console, I believe we got everything here already. No. We're going to need to delete that first. In order for this to run, we got to debug this first. Okay. Close that out. Open up the file location. Go to it. It's in here. I believe this is called, what is it? Practice CPP. So probably going to be in this file. There's a practice. Yes. There's the application. Yes. So we're going to double click on that. And there you go. There's your battleship game. So you're going to have to also tell them how to get to it once they download it. Again, this won't end until you either close it out or you proclaim victory. It's not going to tell you victory because the program is going to close out so quickly and stuff. As soon as you hit the last one, you're not going to see victory or win. Not unless you have something else at the bottom and stuff to keep the program open so you can see that. Anyways, like I said, this ran quite a bit longer than what I wanted it to, but that was the last one right there for the exercises. Next is the challenges, but we're not going to do the challenges. We haven't been doing challenges. We're going to get into structure next. So that is the end of this video right here. When we pick up on the next video, we're going to get into structures. Like I said, there's even more to do with all this stuff than what this is going through. So even though these videos are lasting an hour, some people could probably give you all this information much faster than I could. But I'm not teaching this. I'm morely just showing you how I went through it the first time, what I understood, what I didn't understand, what I still don't understand yet. I need to close that out so it'll stop running it. Sort of thing. So build it yourself, experiment with it. Next video and stuff, I'm going to go start with structures on what my journey was, and keep going. So until next video, if you have any questions, anything you want to correct, anything you want to say, whatnot, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, see you next time.